Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Bryce. Welcome to Cross Culture, where we engage culture with Christ from a Christian perspective. We want to let the gospel speak to culture to transform the culture into kingdom culture. Today, we are attacking and wrestling with the question of where are we going? Recently, we've talked about where we come from, and we identified how we're made in the image of God, and then we talked about what are we doing here and what's our purpose in this life, and we talked about how it's to know God and to make God known. Well, today, Robert and I were talking about where are we going? What is the Christian perspective of afterlife and heaven, and how does that compare to other worldviews, and how does it give us hope today? And so we hope that you can enjoy this conversation. If you have any questions, always reach out to us. We want to help you grow in your faith, encourage you, and move you closer to Christ in your walk with him. So hopefully you can enjoy this conversation. Nobody that wants to be in heaven won't be in heaven. I don't believe. Think about it. In other words, anybody who wants God, they'll find God. Like, it's not as much of an information problem as it is a head problem. Like, people have this idea, like, why would God send people to hell? Like, people in heaven are going to be the people that wanted God. He's a free will God. He's going to take his family with him. He's not going to force anyone into heaven that did not want to be there. If I didn't want a relationship with him here, he will not dishonor me by making me have a relationship with him there forever. And if I had a relationship with him here, he's going to honor that, and he's going to allow us into heaven. It's not it really is much. It comes much more down to free will. That's why, like, the individual who says, well, I just live for here and now, I don't really live for the afterlife. They say that because of the priority they put on afterlife and where they're going, and how much they know that their free will now impacts the later. We wouldn't live for the later. I mean, we wouldn't live for the here and now if later wasn't important. If where I'm going for eternity didn't matter, then I would drink, be merry, and just live my life for me. But if where I'm going for eternity does matter, then the small amount of time I have here now matters to the most. It matters the most. So that's why I would want to live for here and now. I would want to live in the present. I would want to make every minute count. I would want to make my free will choices in this life a top priority and intentional.
Well, I think that our walk, though, with God is if you're newborn, if you're new in it, you might not see the value of it. That when we're talking about the hereafter. So it's like, I mean, one of my prayers is God, help me love you. I mean, like, I don't know that it says, like, in 1 John 4:8, he that knoweth not God knoweth not love, for God is love. Okay, so how do I love God? I mean, the more I know him, then the more I should have capability to love. But if I don't know him, I don't know what love is. So I mean, like, are we really praying to turn around and love him back like he loves us? Are we capable? I mean, I think it shows that human nature shows that we don't have that capability. Like, right off the start, we have to know God to know what love is. So the more we know God, the more that these things fall into place if we're seeking that. So I mean, sometimes it's like we just want a little bit of God. Like, okay, I know that good things are going to happen, sort of like it's like a good luck charm or something, and don't really get involved with God.
Yeah, and I think that's also like a misconception. Heaven is not just going to be like a place where I go and I get everything I wanted, and God is not something or someone that's just my good luck charm. He's a personable God that wants a relationship, and that translates to heaven. How? Because heaven is not just some place that I go where I get what I want. It is dwelling. It's dwelling with God, face to face, hip to hip per se, and it's being together. It's almost like if I'm with my wife, where I'm at locationally matters far less than the fact that I'm with my wife. If I was at the same location, maybe it's my favorite restaurant, but it's with some person I really don't like, that experience is far worse than if I'm with the person I love most. And I think that's the point of heaven. It's not I'm sure the location is going to be greater than all of our expectations, but the point is God is revealed. We are behind the curtain fully at that point, and that is just a beautiful moment. It's like the top of human experience, because we have this life, but we don't really die, we just transition. And that's the peak of existence, is being face to face with God.
Well, look at it this way. What if we went to heaven's, I consider like a country music star's millionaire house. Okay, when you go there, you go through the pearly gates and all this stuff. It's fascinating, intriguing, but there's something more than the material.
Yeah.
It's God the creator. So when we focus on heaven, the real true focus is God's glory, and that glory being revealed to us. And we'll have to have a new form to see his glory. I mean, I think about the passage in Exodus 33 where Moses wanted to be closer to God, was leading the people, and he says, God, reveal yourself to me. He says, look, I can't reveal my whole self to you because you won't live. It'll kill you. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and then I think of Elijah wanted to see also. So I think that that's like a sign of spiritual maturity that, and then also we go to the transfiguration where those two were also there. In the transfiguration, Peter was sitting there, Peter, James, and John, and they're like, wow, this is great. This is awesome. But still, that did not change Peter's life. He saw that. Maybe it changed it afterwards when he could put it all in perspective. But at the time, seeing that glory of Jesus and with Moses and Elijah, it's like, oh, this is great. But he didn't get it. And I mean, if God showed us his glory now, we wouldn't get it. I don't think it. And I mean, like, what is it that we can't see God's glory right now?
It's our sin.
Right. But in heaven, what's so special about heaven? People say it sounds boring. Like, why glorifying God? The angels turn around and glorify God.
I think it's because in heaven, while we're in this life, if we're in Christ, we're being sanctified, right? By Jesus, by the Holy Spirit. But there's coming a point in our existence where we will be fully sanctified, made in his likeness, made in his image. We're not going to struggle with sin anymore in heaven, which is a hard concept to grasp.
But a beautiful concept.
It is a beautiful concept. And I think that's what makes all of this possible that you're talking about. How is it possible to do what you're saying? And I think it's only, how can I see God's glory and not be changed? Well, it's because I have sin in my life. Sin has got a grip on my life and my heart to where I could see God's glory. It's like the people who see Jesus, his miracles, and they go on and life continues as normal. But when we're free of sin, that gives us new eyes. I mean, in a sense, our hearts see for us. It's not just our physical eyes that see, it's our hearts that see for us. And where our heart is conditionally determines kind of what we see and what we don't see. I love how that's what Jesus says in the Beatitudes, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. So it's those who have a pure heart. It's when the heart is free from sin is when I can finally start to see God for who he is and appreciate him for who he is. It's like that is what heaven is going to be. It's this freedom from sin. It's this new body, this new heart, this new mind. Completely, it's no more it's no more a wrestling match. It's no more doing well and then struggling and then depending and relying on that forgiveness and continuing forward. But why are we continuing forward when we sin? Because we know that there's a point in which we're going where this struggle will happen no longer. And I think that's the good news of heaven. That's how we can see God's glory face to face and not die and also not reject him. I think that's why we'll embrace him and we'll be able to be with God, because it's not going to be just us in heaven. We're going to be made into the likeness of Jesus. God is adding sons and daughters to his family, not sinners. So we're not going to be in heaven with God as sinful creatures, I don't believe, which is awesome.
So does that scare you?
If I'm being honest, the honest answer is yes. I would say, yeah, that gives me hope, and it does give me hope. But that's scary because if it didn't scare me, if there was no risk to living free of sin, then we would already live free from sin. Think about it. Like, we sin every day. I sin every day. and it's because it serves me in some sense. So I can say, yeah, I'm looking forward to the day in which I no longer struggle with sin. But there's a part of me, there's a part of Bryce that says, no, you're not looking forward to the day that you don't struggle with sin, because that's the day that you can't, we can't hang out anymore, right? That's the time that our time's over at that point. And so, yeah, I think there's a part of us that loves sin, and we love the darkness more than the light. And that's why we struggle so much, I think, here, is because we have that conflict of interest.
I also look at our desire for heaven serves as a spiritual gauge.
Yeah, maturity.
You know, it's like where, you know, like if heaven sounds boring, then where's my life at?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm too attached to the world.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, like, so what? I mean, there's so much good in the world because God created it and He says it was good. So, I mean, you know, the sunsets, the morning rise.
Well, heaven's going to be a new earth. Like, it's not like it's going to be some boring, I'm floating in the ominous clouds and just singing some Whoville song all day. It is not that. It is a life with God. Like, it is life face to face with God in the flesh. And yeah, that will spur us into worship. We will be chanting glory, glory, glory. But it's because our hearts will be so in love with Jesus. And believe it or not, even those who aren't in heaven, they're going to chant and glorify God too, but in judgment. And it's not going to be voluntary. That's the thing. It's like
every knee shall bow.
Every knee will bow. It's just, you know, I'm not convinced that that's going to be voluntary or not. And so,
but I think it's going to be voluntary because they're going to realize the significance of it.
Exactly.
I mean, it's like, it's going to be like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, like.
True.
So, I mean, like, I don't know. I think that the glory of God is just unbelievable, unfathomable. And that's going to be so amazing in itself that it would become natural.
And, you know, I think for the Christian, it's good news, and I do think it's a spiritual gauge for our maturity, right? The more I live for heaven, I think that shows my maturity as a Christian.
But heaven's a reward. It's not, our goal as a Christian is for spiritual maturity, our relationship with God.
True.
And
yes.
So our maturity level with God, the relationship's going to go to a whole new level.
True.
And we won't have the sin side on us.
That's what I'm saying is, if I live my life today, and my main priority is to spend my eternity with God because I love God so much, then that's going to put me in position to become a more mature Christian. So I think our maturity level as a Christian can be determined on our view. What's our view of heaven? What's our view of eternity? I think in the scriptures, Paul and the apostles, I think they put a high priority on the reality of eternal life with God. And I think that determined their urgency in the life they lived. I think it spurred them to share with other people.
Well, what removes some of the fear for me personally is the idea that what has God done that's not been good for me? Nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? God's all good and pure and truth and everything else. So imagine an environment where God is all about purity, truth, wanting the best for you, and that relationship. That's a relationship that we try to experience it here, but we reject it.
Yep.
And so then to have that where you're free to maximize it sounds unbelievable.
Yeah, I like how you're putting it. It's like a maximized place in the relationship with God. And that's like,
barriers are removed.
I couldn't even imagine that. And you're right. It's not because he's not doing his job here. He's doing his job here. We're not doing our job here. It's like a two-way relationship. Like there's times in my marriage with my wife where I'm not doing my job. And because of that, the intimacy within the relationship is not maximized. It's not what it could be. We're not as close or connected as we could be. We're not on the same page like we should be. And I think that's the same thing. It's like amplified even more with God. Like we struggle in this life because God's doing his part, but we are struggling with that area. He's faithful, and we struggle with faith. We're faithless at times, and then we turn to faith. It's like that cycle in Judges. We sin, we cry out, we're saved and restored. We commit again, and it's just like this walk, this wrestling match, this constant fight and battle for as long as we physically live. When you think of afterlife, though, and what we're talking about now, and this hope of heaven, not just the location of heaven, but the hope of eternal dwelling and intimacy with God, how do you think that compares to what the culture says about where we're going? Because, people are wondering, where am I going? What we talked about where we come from, what we're doing here, but people also wonder, what's going to happen next? Like, what happens with my life after I die? And what does the culture say about that compared to the Christian perspective?
Well, I think Satan turns around and tells us we have to live now for the moment. So we're, it's here now. Don't think about the future. Like, okay, if I'm tempted to try a drug, don't think about where that drug is going to lead you. If I'm turning around and inviting sin in my life, it leads to death. God tells us that, and God doesn't want us to do it. But, that path, it's like Satan saying, oh, just try this. This will be good for you. It'll help you now, but it leads to death. And that's what happened in the garden. And so what the culture says is live for here and now, but it's leading to death.
So it's immediate gratification. It's this idea of satisfy your desires here and now. It's hedonism. And honestly, in American culture, that's the way. It's if you have a desire or an inclination bent towards something, it ought to be met. It ought to be pursued. If you have an itch, scratch it. And scratch it as often as you want to.
Well, the thing that with culture, though, it's like, okay, if I want to try to be a good person, say we're brought up that, like you need to be a nice neighbor, you need to do this, but that standard is still our own standards.
Yep.
So by my standard, I'm a great person. By God's standard, we're not. That's what I think true Christianity, when you realize it, that we're all sinners, we're all equal, we all have the same problem, maybe different forms, but we all have the same problem. And culture's saying like, oh, they think they're goody tissues, or they're hypocrites, or they're whatever. But the real issue is we realize that we are imperfect and God's our rescuer.
Yeah, it's not that we have a different we're in the same boat as culture. It's just we understand there's one that can save us from the boat crashing and sinking, to help us out of the boat. And I think it's easy for culture to kind of push this idea that we should either live for now or even I just need to be a good person. I think that's a big one too, like you're saying. If I'm a good person, then where I'm going after this life should just be taken care of.
Yeah, and I should go to heaven.
I should, yeah.
And I mean, like, I struggle with funerals. Mm-hmm. It's like, what if the person didn't respect God? What if the person really didn't act like they knew God?
Yeah.
So then, like, that's a sad moment.
That is sad. It's like, and I don't know exactly where they're at, but it's sad because I understand that although God understands their heart, God's not going to take anybody that didn't want a relationship with him here and force them to have a relationship with him there. So unless something was going on in that person's heart or in their life that he saw that no one else saw, that would be a sad. Yeah, funerals can be very sad when an individual blatantly rejects God or is disrespectful towards God. It's like, I really want to be there to try to offer comfort for the family, but for that individual, it's hard. It would be hard to have anything but sadness in that.
Well, and I think it haunts a lot of people from getting close to God too. If you're a survivor of that funeral member, remaining person, and somebody close to you passes away, then you're like, am I going to see them again? Am I not going to see them again? So, I mean,
Yeah. I know someone that literally told me that they wouldn't want to go to heaven and be with God if their parent who had passed away wasn't in heaven. And like you're saying, like the loss of someone close to them and the thought that they might not get to be with them because of this idea of heaven and hell. It initially pushed them from God, which is tough. That person's in a better place now. But,
Well, the bottom line, though, heaven is a reward, but the real thing is, like, whenever I look at Scripture, the tint that I use or the eyes that I try to view it is God revealing Himself to us, and it's about God's glory. Like Jesus said, "Not my will, but your will." So whenever we look at heaven, God desires to have a relationship with us. And that relationship's going to take a whole new level.
Yeah.
That's what's exciting. It's not like whether the streets are gold or it's like going through something magnificent, like, well, what's my room like in heaven?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what's my accommodations?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
What really matters is a relationship with God.
And I think that culture also has a big misconception of heaven, and they think of that. They think of, it's just some place where you go and you get a big room and a big house. And I think that's why they view it as boring. They don't view it as this. You get to have a personal relationship with the creator of the universe without limits or barriers. That is, it's mind-blowing. And that should affect our day-to-day life, I believe.
Well, the funny thing that we're talking about, though, is I don't know your relationship with God personally. You don't know mine. It's individual. And so we have this relationship. The person that can see our mind, God can sit there and see our mind every day walking through there. He can see your mind. Like, we don't have that ability to see that in one another. We see the fruits of one another, but we don't have the ability to see that. We can try to share it, but, like, I can try to share the pain of a kidney stone with you, but if you've not experienced it, you know what I mean? Like, how do you do that? So our spiritual relationship with God is something like that, tangible. It's something that only we can experience. And so developing that while we're here on earth and then in heaven, the reward to have a free relationship seems totally awesome. That's what sounds exciting about, to a Christian that's different than the worldview of heaven. I think that's what the difference is.
Yeah, and I think where we're going also, it like gives meaning to now. If we weren't going to be with God, then I don't know how much meaning this life would have. Because as we talked about, like, purpose in life is about knowing God. So if the afterlife, if it has a different purpose than what this life is about, then that would be conflicting to me. But the reality is the purpose of our life in heaven, or our time in heaven, I guess, even though there is no time, is the same as it is now, and it's to know God. And it's all about knowing God. We were created to know God, to worship God, and that's what we're going to live forever doing what we were created to do, doing it perfectly, loving God perfectly. Imagine what it's going to be like to love God perfectly. And so, for people who live in culture that fear death or fear what's happening to their loved ones or fear what is going to happen to them, I think that the biblical perspective offers hope to know that they don't have to have that fear of death. It's like what David said in the scriptures when he says, he can't come to me, but I can return to him. He's talking about his son. When he loses his son, he knows if I have this relationship with God, I'm going to see him again. So it gives me hope to know that if I fulfill the purpose of my life here, which is to know God and to make him known, then where I'm going is taken care of. I will know God there, and the ones I love here, if I can make them known to God here, like my children, then I can return and be with, we'll all dwell together with God forever if we know God. And so it amplifies the mission and the purpose here. It makes it even more important, more urgent, and it gives significant meaning to what I'm doing here.
Well, the opposite of heaven is hell. And that means no relationship with God.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's like we have a choice. Do we want a relationship with God, or do we not want a relationship with God? And without him, that's hell. And I mean, that's what I think the hell that Jesus experienced on the cross.
Yeah, the absence of God.
Yes.
Yep.
So, I mean, like, could you imagine that? You know, like we have somebody on this life that's always looking out for us, working things for our purpose and his glory the whole time, and we ignore it, or we don't realize what he's done for our lives.
Yeah.
We probably won't even realize it till we see in heaven. It's like, wow, God, you were doing that for me the whole time. I did not realize you were doing that for me at that time. You know, maybe he saved us from a car wreck, something as simple as that.
Every day.
Maybe he turned around and the spiritual side, you know, he turned around and put people to encourage us spiritually. Our lives cross paths. It's like, hey, look, you're at a weak point in your life, and that's why you've sent that person to talk to you. You know, can you imagine? It's like God's orchestrating all this, just like what he's talking about in Genesis with Jacob. And, you know, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and then Joseph. You know, you see it all orchestrated. He had this plan, and he's orchestrating the whole time for his glory and their good. They didn't have any negative outcomes from it.
Yeah, and I think that's the idea that people have about God, is that he's like arbitrarily choosing who's getting in and out of heaven. But there's an analogy that I really like, and it's this idea that imagine you're in high school, and usually this question or analogy would be posed to like an audience with females, but it's, imagine you have a guy that likes you, and he asks you to be his boyfriend, and you're not interested in him, and you say no thank you, and he doesn't get the point, and he kind of just doesn't get the cue. How would that make you feel? And usually they'll respond and say it's kind of weird or uncomfortable, right? And rightfully so. That makes sense. And then you ask the question, what if he followed you around and started stalking you? That'd be super weird. That's wrong. Rightfully so. What if after you graduated, he kidnapped you and forced you to be his wife and love him forever? He should go to jail, but rightfully so. Like, that guy should be in prison, right? That's a criminal. Stalking case, lots of charges. Why do we expect God to be any different? God has communicated, hey, I like you. I'm interested in you. I love you. Here's my love note, the Bible. And no, sorry, not interested. Do we expect God to not get the point, to stalk us? Do we expect us to graduate from this life, God to snatch us from the universe in which we exist and say, you are now going to dwell with me. You're going to sing holy, holy, holy. You know what? If that was me, heaven would be boring. I wouldn't want to be there, right? Because I didn't want God here. And so no one's going to be in heaven that did not want God here on earth. And no one's going to be in hell that wanted God here on earth. God is going to honor our free will choice for the individual that freely chose him out of faith, not perfection, but faith. Come on in. For the one that freely chose him and freely rejected him and said, no, thank you. I think God's going to continually say, hey, would you reconsider? Would you reconsider here? But there's going to come a point where God's going to say, okay, I'm not going to dishonor that free will choice, although it pains me.
The scary part about that is if we really experience God's love and we don't tell it to the people that we love.
Yeah, for the ones that have said yes to God, are in that relationship with God, and we know that he wants other people to be in that relationship, and we don't say anything, we don't mention it. Yeah, we don't even bring it up. Yeah. It's almost like, do we want heaven for ourselves? Do we want God for ourselves, or do we want God in heaven for the reasons that God does? God doesn't want to be in heaven just to be with me or just to be with you. He wants to be in heaven to be with his family. He wants to be with his children. He wants as many children as possible. And it's like, do I want as many siblings as possible?
Well, that brings in Jonah.
Yeah. Our VBS from church. Yeah, Jonah.
But I mean, like, here he saved 120,000 people.
And he's upset about it.
And he's pouting about it.
Yeah, he's upset about it.
So, I mean, like...
That'd be crazy to save 120,000 people. I hope I wouldn't be pouting about that. That'd be, you know what I mean? Like, I say I wouldn't, but I hope I wouldn't. Yeah. God doesn't desire that any would perish, but that as many as possible would be saved and come to repentance, right? And so I think that's why is the world not ended? Because he wants as many people as possible to know him. We as Christians, I think, understanding what heaven really is, we should have a sense of urgency for now. We shouldn't, I think if I view heaven just to be some place I go and it's fire insurance from hell, I think that creates a apathetic, lackadaisical lifestyle where I sit around and I wait for that. And Christianity is not sitting on a pew and waiting for heaven. It is walking with God now and living out heaven on earth. And I think that's only because heaven is not just a location, although I believe it is a location. It is objectively all about being with God. And that's now. God's with us now. So we should live like that.
If I understand what we're talking about, bottom line, heaven is a honeymoon relationship starting with the new marriage with God, just like the bride. We have the picture, the illustration in the Bible where we're the bride of Christ. Okay, our honeymoon starts at
the entry of heaven. Yeah, it's like when we leave this body and we enter into our heavenly bodies, it's like we start again with no struggle with sin. So yeah, it's like, he's like, man, your whole life, we've had a great relationship and you've struggled. But here we can do it a new way. We can have a relationship a new way where there isn't any of that struggle.
I think that describes the excitement. Now, when I read the New Testament, when it says the kingdom, it's a Greek word, basileia, or however you say it.
Yeah, basileia.
Okay, thank you. And so it means that God's reign and rule.
Mm-hmm.
And so God's reign and rule starts here.
Yep.
So we sort of enter heaven or God's reign and rule here.
Yep.
But it takes a new form when we get to heaven.
Yep.
So, I mean, a lot of the passages used to, I'd think like, well, the kingdom means church. It doesn't in most instances.
Secondary meaning, yeah.
Yes. It just means God's reign and rule in your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so we enter into that. So heaven's a new form of that.
Yeah, we are, in a sense, in a glimpse of heaven now. And the new form you're talking about is being ruled and reigned by God, but without the rule and reign of sin trying to choke out our heart. I mean, the reality is we're under the rule and reign of God, but every time we choose sin, it's trying to choke out our heart and take it away from the rule and reign of God. But in heaven, there's no more wrestling match. And so imagine being ruled and reigned by God with no other rule and reign or division. It's like, how good of a king is God compared to Satan, to sin? Oh my goodness, it's infinitely better. It's not even comparable. And so heaven, that relationship of being under the kingship, the rule, the leadership of our groom and husband, Jesus, without any marital affairs or ties to our seductress called sin, we will be much more satisfied. It'll be a beautiful, beautiful reality.
And again, we have to have faith.
Mm.
You know, God wants our faith most importantly, but the faith in knowing that everything's going to be good.
Yeah.
I mean, so no matter what stage we are as Christians, you know, we don't have to have the same view of heaven. We just have to be faithful and realize our relationship with God's going to be glorified.
Yeah.
And He's going to be glorified, and we get to be a part of it.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
That is exciting. Well, I enjoyed this conversation. If you're watching this video, hopefully you're encouraged by this, challenged by this. If you want to like this video, subscribe to our channel, comment below in the comment section how heaven gives you hope, or what your view of the afterlife is, or how you think Christianity compares to other worldviews and religions in its view of afterlife. And if you're watching this video and you want to ask questions, if you want to reach out and you want to start a Bible study, just reach out to us, message us. You can message us on social media. You can reach out to us on our email. It's on our YouTube page. We are thankful for everybody watching this video, and we hope that we can continue to engage in culture with Christ to address its most pressing problems from a Christian perspective, to allow the gospel to speak to culture, to transform culture into the kingdom culture, to bring about more love and trust and faith to the King Jesus, that rule and reign that we were just talking about. So thank you for watching this video. Until next time, be safe. God bless.